Hey everyone. Question about rage and suppression. I'll read it out. I think resentment comes about as I have to suppress rage all the time. It's a very disempowering place to be in as a woman. Aren't we colluding with thousands of years of suppression of female power rage when we say it's all our own creation and therefore all our own fault? Yeah, well, first of all, we're definitely not saying here that anger is our own creation and all our own fault. Not saying that at all. But let's look at what this conversation does say about anger. First of all, when we're angry, it's often we're angry here in this moment. Someone's done something to make us angry, or said something, or something's happened that we don't want to have happen, or we're feeling that we've been rejected or mistreated or discriminated against, and so we're angry. And it either looks like we have to act from that anger, so go into confrontation, or suppress the anger, which is what the listener was talking about. And those look to be our two options, because anger just seems to be the inevitable and right response to what's happening at the moment in our lives, in our reality right now. And anything else will look like denial, or any conversation, as this listener's pointed out, about how anger might not necessarily originate here in this moment, but previously, and is therefore the lens through which the world is perceived, and therefore the anger of our belief system and our identity as a mistreated person will be the lens through which current reality is perceived. And we could even say created. And so the listener is saying, so I'm creating that, am I? No, this is the subtle thing, that there isn't a self creating that anger. There is an accumulation, a lifetime of beliefs and experiences and reactions and things happening that create the viewpoint through which the world is perceived. And when it's been a lifetime, particularly when between those critical ages, when the self identity is being formed, when the sort of basic beliefs about ourselves and about other people, about safety, about how secure this whole system is in the world, beliefs that are being embedded then, and who's in charge of those beliefs? Who's doing that? They're just happening, aren't they? So they're just happening, and so it's not me creating that. There's no self, Claire, creating those beliefs when I'm 3, 4, 5, just as there's no self, Claire, creating the lens now through which the world is perceived. It's just happening. It's just happening. And so when we think you're telling me I'm creating this anger, it's my fault, what's happening then is that this idea of self, this identity that believes it's in control of everything, is taking offense. It believes that it's the thing that's being criticized, because it's inconceivable to that identity that anything should be happening really outside of its control. So it's either in my control or it's externally real and independent of me. It's interesting, isn't it? But what we're saying is there is no me. There is no actual me controller, me doer. There's an accumulation of beliefs, an accumulation of an idea of self, of an idea of self-identity and separate world. And out of that creation of beliefs, behavior happens, emotions happen, reactions happen. The outside world appears in a particular way because of that. So anger, when it arises, like any emotion, when it arises, like any experience, any occurrence, any happening, is always a spotlight back on that creation of beliefs that is the foundation, really, or the lens through which this whole experience is being created. It's always that. So the emotion, the words, the behavior, the experience, instead of, it can either maintain that belief system, it can, and in fact provide further evidence for it. So it's a self-evidential loop, continually reaffirming itself, because it looks through the lens and the lens provides more evidence. So the lens gets more embedded, or everything that happens is revealing the lens. It's showing the whole structure that gives rise to this experience right now. And it's so moving, this, really, because this is freedom, because this means that instead of acting out the anger, behaving from that anger, like charging into conflict and being vigilant and wary and continually protective and defensive, which only leads, doesn't it, of course, leads to an ongoing experience of the need for that, because the world reacts to that, doesn't it? It can't do anything else. It reacts to that abrasion and self-protection. But when everything provides a spotlight back in on what's being believed right now, what's at stake, where has this come from? What is this vulnerability? What's the fear? What is the shame? Where is this anger from? Then this moment now, this angry moment now, relates back to all the moments of anger, right to the origin of anger. And in presence to that, and in actually feeling and allowing the anger in our body, instead of trying to get rid of it by lashing out at this reality that actually has nothing to do really with where that anger has come from. It's healing. The body experiences the anger, it's allowed in. Instead of being numbed away, pushed away, it's allowed in so we can experience it. But we're not in this automatic knee-jerk reaction of acting out of this lens, and thereby only increasing the the apparent reality of that lens. So we're feeling the anger, we're present to what's going on with the mind. There might be memories coming back in that space, there might be thoughts arising, there might be sadness, there might be an unveiling of the things that we're really scared of in that moment, that are underneath the anger. And that's healing. That's the space of, for the first time maybe, of being in the reality of what's going on, rather than acting out of the belief system. And that's enormous. And so, when we talk about anger being suppressed, it's not, it's the mind is doing its own suppression, isn't it? And when the mind is known for what it is, when the identity starts to be revealed for what it is, then the anger can be felt, and those patterns of behavior can heal, can come to an end. Yeah. So it's a good question. As it is for anger, so it is for everything else. And why this isn't denial, just important to say this at the end, is that what this allows for is presence to actually what is happening. So instead of dragging everything from our past and looking through that to a created reality that is created through that lens, instead of continually really reacting to the mirror image of our belief structure, we're in reality. And in reality, we can respond. Anything can be voiced or ended, or boundaries put in place, or change is made from that space. That's the space of powerful change. Everything else is just a continual fight within our own mind that only maintains the status quo. No change comes from there. Yeah. Thank you. Lots of love. Bye.